evening. Welcome to the Big Story. I'm GLA.
I'm Beshan Hall, and I'm Sean Yao.
Tonight's big stories. President Bongbong Marcos blasts former President Duterte for saying he approved a budget that left blanks in. Marcos says Duterte's lying.
One vessel out, another one in. China's monster ship moves away from Zambales waters, only to be replaced by another Chinese Coast Guard ship bigger than the Philippines.
And on day one of his second term as president, Donald Trump promises a series of executive actions that will revive what he calls an America on a 4-year decline.
Well, President Marcos and his predecessor Rodrigo Duterte are at it again. Marcos blasted Duterte for saying that he approved a budget that left blanks in.
Well, the insinuation was that he left it open for corruption, with the blanks meant to be filled in later with projects at will. The palace called Duterte's claims fake news and malicious.
Aside from the former president, Marcos was also unhappy about Senate Bill 1979, otherwise known as the Anti-Teen Pregnancy Bill. He called out what he says were woke provisions in the Senate bill, though the provisions he was referring to, according to the author, do not exist. Maricel Halili with the details.
He's lying. He's a president. He knows that you cannot pass a GAA without with a blank. He's lying.
This was President Marcos's reaction to allegations by former President Rodrigo Duterte of glaring irregularities in the 2025 national budget. Duterte had said in a podcast that the budget was signed with several items left blank. He likened it to handing over a blank check to the government. But Marcos insisted this was false.
Sa kasaysayan ng buong Pilipinas, hindi pinapayagan na magkaroon ng item ang GAA nang hindi nakalagay kung ano yung project at saka ano yung gastos, ano yung pondo. So, it's a lie.
Marcos also challenged the public to fact-check Duterte's allegations on the Department of Budget and Management's website, where a copy of the budget is posted.
Hanapin nyo yung sinasabi nila na blank check. Tignan ninyo kung meron kahit isa para mapatunayan na tama ang sinasabi ko, kasinungalingan yan.
Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin also reacted to Duterte's claims, calling it fake news and something that should be considered malicious and criminal. Bersamin added, quote, "No page of the 2025 national budget was left unturned before the president signed it into law." But in a video posted on the YouTube channel of Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte, Davao City 3rd District Representative Isidro Ungab showed 13 supposed blank items in the bicameral committee's version of the budget, which the former president said was unacceptable.
That is not a valid legislation. Kung nasa batas na yan, lumabas na yan ng blanco-blanco, either it could be filled up before or after sa Congress. Kung sino man ang ano niyan, they have to give us the explanation. You can all go to jail for that.
The DBM clarified that documents presented in the video were of the BICAM report and not the final copy of the General Appropriations Act, which was what the president actually signed into law. Take, for example, this document presented by Congressman Ungab, which shows no allocation for the seed buffer stocking program of the Department of Agriculture. In the actual 2025 GAA, it shows that the program received a budget of 994 million pesos. Former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo defended Duterte's remarks, claiming they were only based on Congressman Ungab's findings and on the assumption that the budget signed by President Marcos contained the same omissions, and that Duterte was only expressing his legal opinion on the matter. Meantime, President Marcos also called out Senate Bill 1979, or the Anti-Adolescent Pregnancy Bill. Marcos said he was shocked and appalled by some of the elements he saw on the bill when he pored over it over the weekend.
This is all this woke that they are trying to bring into our system. you will teach four-year-olds how to masturbate. That every child has the right to try different sexualities. This is ridiculous. It is abhorrent. It is a travesty of what sex education should be to the children. What about the parents? Wala na silang karapatan na silang mag-decide kung ano at kailan tuturuan yung bata. I'm a parent and I'm a grandparent. So I feel very strongly about this.
To be clear, there is no provision in the current bill that specifies teaching of masturbation to 4-year-olds and below, nor that children can try different sexualities. Still, Marcos promised to veto the bill if it passes in its current form.
If this bill is passed in that form, I guarantee all parents, teachers, and children, I will immediately veto it. The consequences of early pregnancy, the prevalence of HIV, kailangan ituro lahat yan para alam ng mga kabataan. Pero yung mga sinama nila na mga woke na absurdities are abhorrent to me.
Senator Risa Ontiveros, the principal author of the bill, was quick to correct the president's statement.
Mr. President, with all due respect, maliwanag na wala po sa bill kahit ang salita na masturbation. Wala din po yung try different sexualities.
Ontiveros, however, said that she is willing to refine the bill so it can be passed. SB 1979 is currently on second reading for interpolation and amendments. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
The other thing that I wanted to point out here was the president mentioning that he was a grandparent, which caught me quite off guard because I didn't. Is he a grandparent? Does anyone know?
As far as everyone knows, he's not yet a
Bata pa yung mga anak niya, si Sandro,
Oh.
si Vinny, sino yung isa pa?
Late 20s, early 30s,
yeah.
as far as we know. Was it Marco? Was it Marco, the third son? I don't remember.
It's not Marco. Marco Marcos.
Oh no, sorry, not Marco Marcos. But
Marco,
anyways,
yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Simon. It's
Simon, that's it,
Sandro,
that's
Vinny,
it.
and Simon.
That's it.
I'm not sure.
Very
the
young.
order.
Yes,
Very young.
But if I were there, I would have asked him, grandparent to whom?
Kaya nga.
When I heard that soundbite, I thought maybe one of his nephews has a child.
Baka
Potentially.
yun. Oo.
Pero
he
medyo
treat-
malayo na rin naman, right?
Medyo-
Isn't it?
I don't know. What's a term?
Who's the,
Grandniece?
you mean to say the children of his sister, for instance,
Yes. Yes,
Senator
correct.
Amy, who
Yes.
are married, some
Yes.
of whom are married, right?
Yes.
Or at least
Oh, they have a
parents,
huge family,
yeah.
so probably it's considered a lolo.
But that is a very juicy bit.
We will have
Good
to.
catch there.
We will have to ask him about it. And no doubt, Senate Bill 1979 is a complicated and contentious one. So let's try to break this down further. We have on the line or on Zoom with us tonight, Maria Aurora Kilala. She's the Deputy Executive Director of the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development. Good evening, Ms. Kilala. And welcome to the Big Story.
Good evening. Good evening, Ms. Regina, Ms. Gretchen, and Ms. Sean, and good evening to your viewers.
Right. First off, let's set the context. I wonder if you could give us an insight into your involvement into this bill, Senate Bill 1979, the anti-teen pregnancy bill. What work did you do around this?
Yeah, PLCPD, or the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development, is a group of legislators from the House and Senate who work together for a particular set of legislative agenda on human development. And the prevention of adolescent pregnancy is one of the legislative priorities of our group since the 17th Congress. So we provide assistance to the authors by linking them with experts, providing data and studies, participating in the committee deliberations, and providing support through technical assistance during the plenary deliberations on the bill.
Okay. Ms. Kilala, I would like to follow that up with the question, what seems to have happened at the Senate level? Because in the Congress level, as I understand it, the House bill has kind of passed. So they're just waiting for SB 1979, which has been quote-unquote ignored. That's what everyone is saying. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, the House bill was approved as early as September 2023. What happened was in the Senate, it was sponsored in the plenary earlier on March 8, 2023. And then it was lined up for plenary deliberations and interpellation since August. And several legislators are lined up to interpellate. And so far, Senator Zubiri, Senator Pimentel, Senator Tolentino have stood up to ask their questions, and most of their questions are on sexuality education. But in December, late December, there was a group of a video became viral, spreading disinformation about sexuality education and what the sexuality education in this bill is all about. And so it was picked up, and then some legislators from both houses spoke out against the bill. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, the president said that he read Senate Bill 1979 in detail, and he described it with very strong words. He said this was abhorrent, this was a travesty on what sex education should be. These are woke absurdities. What would you react to that? Why did he say those descriptions towards the bill? Did he, happen to, do you think he read the right bill here?
Yeah. We were actually surprised and disappointed. And actually, I'm asking, are we reading the same bill? Because the words that he used, the words that he said he read in the bill are actually not found in the bill. And in fact, on Friday, when he was interviewed, he came out with a very supportive statement. And I think we can say that the president still is, up to now, pro CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, because he's been saying that CSE is very important. It should help prevent children from early pregnancy, from HIV, so teach them some skills on how to protect themselves. And we agree, this is what CSE is about. And we guarantee the president and all the parents who are concerned and all the stakeholders who are concerned that this is the CSE that the Senate Bill 1979 is all about. It's age and development appropriate, and it's culturally sensitive. And it's based on standards of the Department of Education.
Okay. Ms. Kilala, let me just bring it back to former Senate President Miguel Zubiri. He did give a press con earlier today. He wanted to clarify where he stood with regard to the bill. And what he said was that he fully supports, the part of the bill which helps teens or adolescents who find themselves pregnant. But he was less supportive of the CSE aspect of the bill. Would this pretty much jive with what he discussed in the Senate plenary when he questioned the bill?
Yes, he is really concerned about sexuality education. And when he did not officially interpolate, it was an interjection. He said that he has studies that said children or students who are exposed to sexuality education tend to have early sexual initiation. And it really goes against the evidence, because we have evidence from all over the world that says comprehensive sexuality education, when taught correctly and appropriately, help children decide to delay early sexual initiation and to avoid risky sexual behavior.
Senator Risa Ontiveros has also spent a lot of time explaining and re-explaining the bill and certain provisions in it, how this differs from, I think, the main issue that was in that Project Dalisay video, which is that video that went viral that everybody has watched. And she has said that we don't per se, step by step, point by point, follow the foreign or the European model. So can you talk us through very quickly just the finer points of the CSE that will be taught here in the Philippines, should this bill pass?
Yeah, because a lot of the misinformation seems to have stemmed from people's interpretation of certain provisions in the WHO European provisions, European guidelines, right? Which I don't think we are going to be adopting.
Actually, there are two contentious points there. teaching 0 to 4-year-olds how to masturbate, and the second one is the right of
Allowing children to
allowing
try
children to try different
sexualities, which
sexualities, just
again,
to put the context to the
right,
conversation.
right. But again,
Yeah.
these two provisions are not in the Senate bill that we're talking about. But go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's not in the bill. It was never in any of the versions since the 17th Congress. So what this bill talks about in Section 6 is age and development appropriate comprehensive sexuality education. So DepEd is being mandated to implement comprehensive sexuality education. It says that it has to be medically accurate, culturally sensitive, rights-based, inclusive, and non-discriminatory towards LGBTQIA adolescents. So there's nowhere there that says masturbation will be taught in schools and to children. And the bill lists some topics, including human sexuality, informed consent, adolescent reproductive health, contraceptive use, disease prevention, and all those that the president mentioned earlier, and even in his statement today that should be part of the CSE. So we wonder where the fear or the allegations come from.
According to DepEd Order 31, this is already being taught in schools, comprehensive sexual education integrated into different learning areas such as PE, Araling Panlipunan, science, etc. What would change here with this bill in terms of the way the curriculum is carried out? And how about the oversight function as to making it, as you say, appropriate for the age and I guess with very carefully crafted according to our culture and religion and all the other considerations here in our country? Who would have that oversight?
The bill doesn't create a new sexuality education. It's based on what's already existing sexuality education being implemented by DepEd. But this bill only strengthens because the reproductive health law, which mandates the CSE, is not very detailed when it comes to the sexuality education. So for this one, it says that CSE will be taught in schools. It will be DepEd who will implement this, but with the guidance or in collaboration with the assistance of the council that's being organized through this bill, the Council for the National Council for the Prevention of Adolescent Pregnancy. Other provisions that are relevant or related are it ensures that CSE will also reach those who are out of school, and it has a provision for CSE for parents and guardians. So parents will also be guided on how to talk to their children about sexuality. And it also guarantees that there will be training of teachers, guidance counselors, and all the other implementers of CSE in school. So this is a very beautiful and comprehensive bill because it ensures that those who will carry out or implement CSE are trained and will know that what they are implementing is based on the standards that will be set or that is set by the Department of Education in consultation with the council.
Okay, Ms. Kilala, I'm just curious, no, as you were shepherding this bill through 3 Congresses, 17th, 18th, and 19th Congress, what kind of resistance did it meet, and how did you guys address any of those, through stakeholder consultations? I imagine that always happens when you're pushing forward the legislation. Were these issues not tackled in the stakeholder consultations prior to the drafting of the bills?
Yeah, we were actually surprised that there is resistance, particularly on sexuality education, because even in the reproductive health law, this is the one provision that did not meet such resistance. And it was not struck down by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court upheld its constitutionality. In the 3 Congresses that this bill has been discussed, we did not hear any objection. And we know that not only favorable organizations were invited, the committees who were in charge invited even those who are against reproductive health or against this measure. But we did not hear such resistance from any group about sexuality education.
So you were surprised when this video came out? It seemed to be, it was quite long, first of all. I watched the
Yeah.
whole thing and it was very well produced. Did it shock you seeing that?
Yes. In December, no, in late December, we were shocked by the virality of this video. And the spokesperson of the group is former Chief Justice Sereno, who were one of those who wrote the decision on the Supreme Court's on the constitutionality of the reproductive health law in 2013 in the Supreme Court. And some of the groups behind Project Dalisay were even supporters of the reproductive health law in last decade, in the discussions last decade. So we were surprised.
Do we know what happened there? No? What?
I think they're bothered by maybe we don't have the same values on how to protect children, and they're bothered by the bill empowering children
Yeah.
with information.
I wanted to flesh out one of the things you said earlier, which is that it aims to be culturally sensitive. What exactly does that mean? Who defines culturally sensitive here, and how will that play out in action? For instance, do we have any idea how concepts like gender fluidity will be tackled in the Philippine context, given very stringent, Christian and Islamic views on family life?
Yes, the Department of Education, as what they did with the existing CSE standards, they called for consultations with stakeholders as they drafted the CSE standards that are being rolled out now. So this is to make sure that what will be part of the CSE standards are, yeah, culturally sensitive. So, we don't want to put anything that is not really acceptable in our culture. And we are confident that the Department of Education will not put anything there that will not be acceptable to parents, to the parents of their learners.
Right, right. But acceptable is a very relative term. Of course, it's very subjective, right? What's acceptable to you may not be acceptable to me, and that's the balance. That's going to be the holy grail for the DepEd, ed, right? So you're saying they will have the last say as far as CSE being culturally sensitive is concerned.
Yes, and based on the consultations with stakeholders and of course the inputs of experts, because we also have to have, of course, scientific evidence and standards as they have to have that as they craft the standards.
Ms. Kilala, some are arguing that this bill may take away the rights of parents to educate their children. Why do you believe that this should be done through the academic institutions with the school as the primary stakeholder in giving that knowledge instead of having it in the homes? Because I talk about this because the conservatives could argue that they have a different set of beliefs. And dun pa lang medyo alanganin na. I mean, the conversation, how it is spoken, the language used. You're going to have a lot of teachers to guide with the sex education. What do you say about that? I mean, is it this also better taught in the home rather than in the
Yeah.
school?
It's best taught in the home, and we also believe that it's the parents' primary responsibility. The parents are the ones who are primarily responsible. But there's also the reality that in our country, parents do not really talk about sex with their children, and children do not really seek that kind of conversation from their parents. There's a study from the Young Adult Fertility and Sexuality Study that says the source of information for young people is not the number one source is not their parents, it's the internet and then their peers. So what we can do about this is for the state to support the teaching of sexuality education through trained professionals, and that those are the teachers so that um, children will receive accurate information, because it's very dangerous if children just rely on the internet.
What does the data say now about teenage pregnancy in the Philippines? I believe it has been on the decline. Yung huli ko nakitang datos, so from 2017 to 2022, medyo pababa na. What has worked in that phase, and how is it now? Is it on the rise
Yeah.
again?
Teenage pregnancy, just like the fertility rate of other age groups, is on the decline for the 15 to 19. But what we are bothered about, what is really concerning, is the pregnancy among the very young adolescents, or those in the age group 10 to 14, because the number is increasing. And for 2022 to 2023, I think it increased by one third, or 33%, and then it still increased in 2023. And when we look at the ages of the fathers of the children born to children 10 to 14 years old, they are much, much older. They're older than they're adults, basically. So we are also seeing the child abuse, sexual abuse dimension in this situation, because it's not children having relationships, having boyfriends, and then getting pregnant, but it's a result of abuse. And we know that sexuality education, empowering children, teaching them about their body parts, how to protect their privacy, what is consent, and why shouldn't anyone touch them. And it's very important.
And how do we allay fears that our group of teachers in the academic sector will
capable.
have the professional capability to talk about these things? I mean, that's probably a huge concern amongst parents, leaving that responsibility to teachers. Ano yung parang, do we have standards or way to put guardrails on that end, assuring the safety of the children in the academic space to talk about something as sensitive as this?
To add to that, no, Ms. Kilala, is the DepEd Order 31 from 2018, is that the guideline that still rules how that is taught in schools?
Yes, the guidelines issued in 2018, that's the one that's existing, that's being used now. But of course, if this bill passes with this provision, it will be enhanced and strengthened. And to answer the question on how do we ensure, the authors thought that it's important to put here training of teachers, so that they are equipped, because we know that not all teachers might be ready to discuss this with the students. So teachers will also be trained, and everyone who will be involved in the implementation of the sexuality education.
Right.
And of course, there are child protection policies as well. So we know that existing in DepEd, so we know that children are protected.
Right. Very good to hear that there are all these sorts of guardrails. We'll discuss this more in the coming days, but for now, thanks so much for your time. Maria Aurora Kilala, Deputy Executive Director of the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development.
Well, up next, China's monster ship is out of the waters of Zambales and replaced by a smaller but still formidable vessel. We will be speaking to Commodore Jay Tariela of the Philippine Coast Guard when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching a big story here on One News.
The NBI has arrested a suspected spy who was allegedly surveilling critical infrastructure in the country. The Chinese national was identified as Deng Yanqing, and he was arrested along with 2 Filipino accomplices. In his car, NBI operatives found a transmission system, LiDAR sensor, and satellite navigation system. Authorities said they were first tipped off about a group of Chinese spies in the country back in December. This group goes around power plants, local government offices, shopping malls, airports and seaports, possibly even military and police bases. Authorities learned that the arrested spy graduated from a university in Nanjing, China, that is facilitated by the People's Liberation Army. Investigation is now underway to determine whether he is in fact part of the PLA.
Tinatag namin siya as a sleeper kasi through our monitoring, yung galawan niya talagang nasa normal lang, kaya niyang mag-blend in sa iba't ibang grupo. Hindi ko siya pansinin. Meron na po silang mapa kung saan iikot. In fact, ang plano po nila, pagkatapos nilang mag-ikot yung buong Luzon, ang next target po nila yung buong Visayas at Mindanao.
Over in the West Philippine Sea, the Philippine Coast Guard confirms that China's so-called monster ship has already left Zambales. However, it appears to have been replaced by another ship with bow number 3304. Like the CCG-5901, this newly deployed ship keeps a distance of only 60 to 70 nautical miles from the coastline of Zambales. This new vessel is also still larger than the BRP Gabriela Silang, which is patrolling in the same area. The monster ship was in the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone for a total of 15 days before it departed on Sunday, January 19. This happened while the Philippines and the United States conducted another maritime cooperative activity in the South China Sea or the West Philippine Sea last week. The U.S. deployed a carrier strike group for this round of exercise centered around the USS Carl Vinson, the guided missile cruiser USS Princeton, and other aircraft. The Philippines dispatched the guided missile frigate BRP Antonio Luna, the offshore patrol vessel Andres Bonifacio, fighter aircraft, and other assets. During the activity, the AFP said they monitored 5 Chinese vessels, although these did not interfere with the MCA.
All right, let's try to get more updates on this from Commodore J. Tariela, Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea. Oh, he joins us on the line. Good evening, Commodore Tariela. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. A pleasant evening to everyone and also to your viewers.
Good to speak to you again. First things first, CCG 3304. Last you tracked, it was 65 nautical miles off of the coast of Zambales. Now this ship is smaller than the so-called monster ship, but still bigger than the biggest of our own vessels, the Gabriela Silang. What do you think it's trying to do here?
Just the same, no? China Coast Guard 3304 is just continuing the main objective of the Chinese government, that is to normalize their deployment of China Coast Guard vessels within our own exclusive economic zone.
Did we notice a pattern in terms of its movement? Kasi sabi po ninyo that you conducted strategic maneuvering to keep them from Zambales from going near. Where does the ship seem to be headed? Is it just making circles around a certain area, or does it try to get nearer to our coastline?
Well, it tries to at least maintain the distance of 60 to 70 nautical miles. No, the strategic maneuvering that Teresa Magbanwa did in the previous days is to at least push it far away from the 70 nautical miles distance that it is maintaining. However, we just realized that the Chinese Coast Guard, both 5901 and those previous vessels that replaced her, really wants to stay in this track of 60 to 70 nautical miles.
Okay, so the last time we spoke to you, Commodore Tariela, that was just around at the New Year, and you said, I remember that they did stay around, this was the monster ship itself, staying also about 60 to 70 nautical miles from the coast of Zambales, which you said is kind of far. So in terms of, I guess it's been 2 weeks now that you guys have been tailing them. They're just really going around? Are they going near any of the features within our EEZ, anything specific, or just hanging around?
No, they're just doing erratic movement, no. But again, it's still parallel to the coastline, but with a distance of 60 to 70 nautical miles. As I said, the real intention of the Chinese Coast Guard is only to normalize this deployment. That once we fail to challenge them or to document their illegal presence, it might be a new status quo that they are going to claim that they have been doing patrol for a long time already. This is the reason why it is important for the Philippine government, for the Coast Guard to challenge them through radio and to publicize this every day so that the
Yeah.
world would know that we are not accepting the illegal deployment of the Chinese Coast Guard.
That's right. You have been issuing, when the monster ship was there, and even with this new vessel, you had been issuing hourly radio challenges to them, right? As far as I understand it. What happens after you issue a challenge
Yes.
to them? How do they respond?
Well, the response is also to counter a radio challenge. What they're saying is that one, the arbitral award is not binding; it is void, and they do not recognize such decision. And as far as the China Coast Guard is concerned, according to them, they have total jurisdiction over these waters, and what they're doing is a legitimate maritime law enforcement patrol.
Actually, si Commodore Tariel, I have to thank him personally because he helped us when I was doing a fellowship back in December, and then he helped my group get on board one of the ships. I can't remember. Was it 4407? I think it was BRP 4407, which is one of the ships that escort the resupply missions out to the West Philippine Sea. And we got a chance to listen to one of the officers give a radio challenge. And something they told us was that sometimes when it's a female voice that's issuing the radio challenge, they are softer in their response. Was that also something that you found, Commodore?
Well, right now there are a lot of changes of observation about the behavior of the Chinese Coast Guard. First of all, this is the first time that they have, stayed that long at a very close distance of 60 to 70 nautical miles without actually, knowing the real intention why they are there. Secondly, as to the hourly radio challenge, I don't think that the female boys have a significant impact because either way, whether it's a male or female, they're still doing the same scripted response in our challenge. So there is no significant impact.
You did tell the Inquirer, though, Commodore Tariela, and I read the article just a while ago, that these radio challenges that you do, hourly at that, do, and I quote, agitate China's way of thinking. Can you tell us more about what you think these hourly challenges do in terms of morale or in terms of psychology?
Well, I believe the Chinese Coast Guard personnel are also rational beings. And in our radio challenges, what we're actually citing are actually factual and legitimate references, like the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea. Anybody who has a rational way of thinking, if you're going to read the text of UNCLOS, would definitely convince you that this is an exclusive economic zone of the Philippines and China does not have any business to be here. We also mentioned about the 2016 arbitral award. These references that we are citing are actually eye-opener for the Chinese Coast Guard personnel. So I think every time we issue this radio challenge, we also educate the Chinese Coast Guard personnel on board that vessel. And, no matter how they deny it, I think that rationality and legitimacy of our challenges at least agitates their superiors because these are hard facts that cannot be contested.
Okay, Commodore Tariela, last December, China submitted geographic coordinates and nautical charts for sea territory surrounding the Scarborough Shoal. Of course, they are claiming this as territory to the UN. Do you link this behavior of sending huge ships to that claim by China? And what do you think could be the move here? Because there is, as we know, today, President Trump will get inaugurated. Meron ba tayong inaasahan on that end as, I guess, as a way to hold the line in this part of the West Philippine Sea?
You know, Gretchen, no? The territorial sea that China has applied in the United Nations only talks about the 12 nautical miles within the territorial sea of Bajo de Masinloc. And if you're going to measure the distance of Bajo de Masinloc to the area wherein they are illegally deploying their vessels, it's already beyond 12 nautical miles. So I don't think that there is a connection with their claim of filing the territorial sea in Bajo de Masinloc and with what they're doing right now at the 60 to 70 nautical miles distance from our coastline. Regarding your second question about how do we see the U.S. presidency in our fight and our position in the West Philippine Sea, we have to go back with the Trump 1.0, his first term. You know? We had an experience under the Secretary of State, then Secretary of State Pompeo. It was in 2019 that he clarified that the mutual defense treaty can be applied in the South China Sea. Secondly, if we're going to look at the cabinet, soon to be cabinet officials of President Donald Trump, I don't think that majority of them are pro-China or not China hawks, right? So, and third, of course, Republican and Democrat, we have bipartisan support in our position, the West Philippine Sea. So I'm very optimistic, and I think the national government and even the DFA has already mentioned this, that we still believe that the ironclad commitment of the United States with our government remains to be very strong.
Right.
Commodore, going outside, 60, 70 nautical miles from the coastline of Zambales, where else are we seeing a presence of Chinese Coast Guard ships and militia ships, the usual gray zone ships that we see? Apart from Scarborough, I mean, Ayungin supposedly is all good. Can you confirm that for us?
Well, first of all, again, there are China Coast Guard vessels in different parts of the West Philippine Sea. But I don't have the exact location of all this maritime forces deployment. But I can confirm that there are maritime forces not just in the one that we're guarding off the coast of Zambales. But again, what is disturbing in what we're monitoring here in Zambales is that this is the closest illegal presence of China Coast Guard in our coastline.
And then lastly, just very quickly, Commodore, since you mentioned DFA, they also recently announced that the resupply missions, the RORA missions, Ayungin Shoal, that we had agreed to an indefinite implementation of the arrangements with China. I wonder what that means in practice. Does that mean we will have to continue, or rather we will have to give Beijing a heads up every time we conduct resupply missions? Or what's the arrangement there?
Well, first of all, the provisional understanding that the DFA and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have concluded is only applicable in Second Thomas Shoal. Every time the Armed Forces of the Philippines do the resupply. Secondly, I'm not really privy about the details because when we talk about the RORE in Second Thomas Shoal, this is purely a military operation, and the Philippine Coast Guard is only asked to support and assist the resupply mission.
Okay, fair enough. We're going to have to leave that there for tonight. Again, thank you so much for your time and for all your assistance. That was Commodore J. Tariela, Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea.
All right, let's shift gears and take a look at who's in town right now. Celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay swings by Manila, and we will tell you why after the break. Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
In about 4 hours, Donald Trump is taking back the White House. And true to form, he promises, quote, the best first day, the biggest first week, and the most extraordinary first 100 days of any presidency in American history. On Sunday, the eve of his inauguration, Trump faced thousands of supporters at Capital One Arena in downtown Washington, D.C. for yet another victory celebration called Make America Great Again, of course. There, he vowed to strike down his predecessor Joe Biden's executive actions within hours of taking his oath of office.
That's what we're going to do, take back our country. At noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride. We're going to end the reign of a failed and corrupt political establishment in Washington, a failed administration. We're not going to take it anymore.
President-elect Trump likewise said he will not waste a single moment shifting federal policies at breakneck speed and reiterated a deportation operation more massive than anything under any administration.
You're going to see executive orders that are going to make you extremely happy. Lots of them. Lots of them. We have to set our country on the proper course. By the time the sun sets tomorrow evening, the invasion of our borders will have come to a halt, and all the illegal border trespassers will in some form or another be on their way back home.
As for Trump's predecessor, Biden, well, he spent his last full day as chief executive in South Carolina, where he had an early win back in the 2020 presidential elections. He tells Americans to keep the faith that better days are coming.
We must hold on to hope. We must stay engaged. We must always keep the faith in a better day to come. I'm not going anywhere. My fellow Americans, I don't think the good Lord brought us this far to leave us behind. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. I owe you big. As they say where I come from, you the guys that brought me to the dance. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Speaking of keeping the faith, a lot of U.S. TikTok users did just that, and already U.S. President Trump is making his presence felt. TikTok is now back online in the United States just hours after the ban was implemented and after he promised to issue an executive order that will delay the implementation of the TikTok law. For users in the States, the app went dark late on Saturday and was back online with basic services by Sunday afternoon. TikTok released a message on the app thanking President Trump for restoring its services for the platform's users. The TikTok ban was passed with strong bipartisan support over national security concerns. TikTok's parent company ByteDance was founded in China, and it was being forced to sell its American business to an owner from the U.S. or its allies.
Isang araw lang, no? Ginulantang lang yung mga
Tinakot lang
influencer, mga business owner. What am I gonna do without TikTok?
But I was reading early reports about the inauguration of Trump, what to expect, and supposedly the CEO of TikTok
Yes, he was invited.
He was invited, and he had like a really good seat.
Shu Cho.
Yeah,
Shou Chu was invited, and which reminded me of the big question in my mind was President Marcos invited to the inauguration? I don't know, but anyways, that's another topic.
Well, this is what they say. When you were gone, we were talking about quite a lot. It is largely considered a domestic event, and so far, and because of that, supposedly they don't really invite heads of state.
They do
The
too.
ambassador.
They do too.
That was just the
We asked the
exclusive.
ambassador about it.
Oh, okay.
But supposedly, Trump is pitching probably a 90-day extension for
Yes.
TikTok and a joint venture,
Right.
possible joint venture.
He's a deal maker after all, so you want to see a...
Oh, this is where you see his transactional side. I mean, his ability to separate geopolitics from business.
But then again,
and from
the
but
issue
it's
is
still national security
bipartisan
concern.
support. There was a reason that they banned it in the first place. There was a reason they were trying to force it to
And the
sell
Supreme Court
in the
upheld
first
it.
place, right?
But
Exactly.
there's an
So I don't
argument
know how
though.
it's going to go past.
There's an argument though, and some were bashing Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg, saying that they've sold information and that they're worst at national security concerns. So why give them the pass and rain down on TikTok?
I'm guessing
get it.
because Zuck is American.
Well, suffice to say, the big tech, the people in Silicon Valley, I guess, a lot of them are quite happy of this new era, Trump 2.0, right? It's there's lots of
there's
articles
Elon
about the
Musk there.
magaing of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So they sense an opportunity here to get in good with this new administration.
Well,
So
if there's one thing that Trump does know how to do is that he knows how to be entertaining. For
Yes.
sure, we will see a
keep us
lot
on
of
our
it
toes. Keep us on our toes.
in the coming days. But in the meantime, eto nakita ko rin sa social media feed ko, nagulantang ako. Akala ko ay AI-generated image, but apparently not. He's been going viral. And let's get to that story. A far cry from his fiery personality on Hell's Kitchen and MasterChef, Michelin star chef Gordon Ramsay was all smiles as he entertained customers right here in his Manila restaurant. More from Mobile Journal, Marymon Reyes.
Today, on this very stage, we will be joined by an absolute legend, Chef Gordon Ramsay!
Celebrity restaurateur and TV personality Gordon Ramsay received an absolute rock star welcome when he hosted an exclusive event in Pasay earlier. His visit comes shortly after the opening of his first restaurant in the Philippines. The 58-year-old showed a different side to his fiery on-screen persona, engaging with the audience warmly and with humor. He even paid tribute to young culinary students in the Philippines.
It's so nice to see you all, and right over there, honestly, that is the future of the culinary Filipino industry.
And spoke about using the power of social media to build connections and profile in the culinary industry. After that, a mini cook-off took place where both celebrity and professional chefs Judy Ann Santos, Ryan Morales Reyes or Ninong Rai, Bar and Grill PH head chef Bea Cua, and culinary student Danica Lucero competed to show off their unique takes on the Pinoy dessert halo-halo. Lucero won the challenge with her sour twist on the dessert and brought home a signed jacket from the iconic chef. Ramsey also bared plans to open potentially 3 additional restaurants in the country and maybe a Hell's Kitchen restaurant to boot. He said he was already in talks for them. He called Filipino cuisine the sleeping beauty of Asia, declaring that local food could be the next big thing to captivate the world's imagination.
Honestly, these trips sound incredibly hectic and manic, but honestly, getting to meet the real essence of Manila and really understanding the power behind the cuisine has been extraordinary. So, God bless. Here's an exciting 2025. Guys, the very best of luck to all of you.
Mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes, we are One News.
And I just wanted to see the face-off between Gordon Ramsay and our lumpia queen.
Yes. Can you wrap beef Wellington in lumpia wrapper? Is the question. And
I put my money on Abby that she can.
I mean,
because she wrapped everything.
It's compact, eh. I mean, I didn't think it was that difficult because it's beef Wellington.
All I want is to eat.
I know, I'm not good at making
Nagutom ako
lumpia.
doon. Pero gusto kong face off si Ninong Rai.
Oh.
And Gordon Ramsay. Di ba masak-masa si Ninong Rai, si Gordon Ramsay. Very
Too sweet daw yung halo-halo.
Ay,
I can,
hindi ko na pala din.
It's
Nako.
too sweet for Gordon's taste. Lucky he didn't chuck the
I
bottom
know.
of the glass, eh, no?
Okay, we have run out of time. That's it for the big story tonight.
We are hungry. All sides, all the time. Let's go have dinner.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.
Stay tuned because coming up next is Play-by-Play with Andre Felix and Cheska Litton Calao.
Gusto ko face off. Sila.
Oo.
Yung kanina, Isa hosted Gordon Ramsay.
nga,
The Litton
no?
Sisters.
Ay, oo,
another
Litton
hosting
to another. Yes,
Kapatid nga pala ni
exactly.
Cheska.
Great idea.
She posted on her stories after na she could release the kilig already. She held it together on stage. But after,
I wonder if she got to try the food.
I'm sure she did.
I hope she
Yeah, I
did.
hope she
Sayang
did.
naman.
Sayang, oo. If
Get
not,
the inside scoop from you, Cheska.
Dapat humingi ka tapos dalhin mo dito.
dito, no? Gordon Ramsay.
Delivery.
You should have just guessed it, bro.
Pero grabe, no? If you think about it,
Wait to text him.
may insecure ako. Kasi
Bakit?
Isa Litton kasama si Gordon Ramsay, Cheska Litton kasama si Andre.
Oo nga.
ganun.
Well,
Diba?
well.
Well, Andre, we're more than willing to try your food.
You wouldn't. But we'll try next time.
Well,
Thank you again.
Let's just
Ate
say
Gretch.
Czech got the short end of the stick.
Grabe!
Hoy,
Grabe!
Grabe ka, bumabanat ka.
Our resident grump.
Oo, grabe. Julie.
She's back.
You disagree?
The madam is back.
Gordon versus Andre. Gordon versus
Thank
Andre.
you.
Wala nang jet lag.
Wala ng jet lag. Okay na siya, nakasettle in na. Thank you, Ate Gretch. Thank you, Tita Sean. And thank you, Madam. Madam Reg. On tonight's show, we've got the Battle of Los Angeles headlining today's NBA updates, plus a conversation with not one, not two, but 3 Pinoy All-Stars from the Japan B-League.
And we've got updates from the PBA Commissioner's Cup as the race to the playoffs heats up.
I'm Andre Felix.
And I'm Cheska Litton Calao.
And here's tonight's play-by-play.
Ramiro, the show by Mamoy leaves Philip. Intermoves puts it on. Unbelievable. Gemma on the left side. Oh, pass! Knocking another one. Bacunas rejecting Estevo for the
The latest chapter in the NBA's Battle of Los Angeles belongs to, guess who? The Clippers. No warm welcome for the Lakers in their first game at the Intuit Dome as the home team claimed the victory here, 116-102. The Clippers trailed just once during the entire game and that was right after the opening basket. Norman Powell, he can be an all-star, leading the way here in scoring with 22 points. Meanwhile, that man, the beard, James Harden, facilitated the offense with 21 markers and 12 assists. And that big boy right there, Ivica Zubac, just dominated the paint with 21 points, 19 rebounds, and 3 blocks. It was a special game for the Claw. Kawhi Leonard, he connected on 8 straight attempts in the third to surpass 4